Hello again from Lambourne, now the place named after the 2025 Derby winner. Today we're at Saxon Gate, home of Archie Watson. He knows how to train a Royal Ascot winner and he's got a cracking team going there this year. 5 winners for Archie so far at the Royal meeting, including a treble a couple of years ago. He'll be hoping for more of the same this year. We'll get the lowdown on his team and plenty more of his runners that'll go to other meetings throughout the season. So make sure you like and subscribe to Tote's YouTube channel to get all the latest videos as they drop. Stable tours, Tom Marquand, Danny's diary and stuff with Brodie Hampson as well. We'll keep them coming because we can see you're enjoying it. So make sure you let us know in the comments who else you'd like to see one of these stable tours with, as we'll keep them coming throughout the flat season. So just tell us how you got started, Archie. Obviously worked in a bit of bloodstock first and have been all over the world before coming back here to Lambourne.
Yeah, well, I got started properly. I lived in Uffington, which is a couple of villages away from Lambourne. And when I was 13, I'd bike to the next door village, Kingston Law, where Charlie Morlock trained, who is now, he was previously assistant to Nicky Anderson and is now back as assistant to Nicky Anderson, but he trained in Kingston Law at the time. Okay. Sort of worked and rode out for him and then sort of went from there. In terms of, as an assistant, my first big job was in South Africa, where I went from university to work for Alec Laird for a couple of years. And then came back and my next big job was the sort of 4-year stint with William Haggis in Newmarket. And then, 2016? Yeah, started up here, no owners, no horses. I think we bought 3 horses on spec at the July sale that year. Chevalier and Ride the Lightning were 2 of them who sort of won and got us on the mark early. Ride the Lightning was my first winner, Chevalier won plenty for us. And it sort of built quickly from there. We've been very fortunate. Yeah. Now we're what, 8-9 years down the line.
Yeah. And people would tend to know you for training sprinters, but I had some stats that say that isn't exactly the case.
Oh, good.
So 19% strike rate over 5 furlongs,
yeah.
17% strike rate over 6, and then your best strike rate is over 1 mile 4, 1 mile 5 after that.
That's pretty.
There we go, yeah. It doesn't surprise me. You know, we've had winners all the way from staying chasers. We had a very good stay, we've had very good stayers on the flat like Staghorn. We've won a Group 1 in Qatar without box, over 12 furlongs. The Jockey Club Stakes over here is a proper Group 2, isn't it, with him as well. I'd like to think kind of like William Haggis, we can train anything, that we're sent. I guess it's probably a bit of a self-perpetuating thing because maybe we get sent or can afford to buy speedier types rather than the more classic types. Yeah. And obviously, if you look at things like Royal Ascot, obviously 2-year-olds and sprinters have been our big winners at places like that. But I think we can train anything, and we'd love to be able to train more classic type horses if we're sent them, Yeah. Obviously, it's no bad thing to be able to train a horse like Bradsell.
No, exactly.
And have a champion sprinter. You take that every day of the week. Yeah.
Yeah. And tracks, I was trying to find something that, in terms of your tracks by win percentage, Musselburgh, Pontefract, Hamilton and Redcar are your top 5.
Yeah.
There's nothing that really links them.
No.
So is that just you trying to target races there and the races that are on there rather than the tracks?
The way I race plan is purely by where the races are, like race conditions and what suits the horses, and I like to run horses at the top of their handicap bands. I like to run maidens in restricted company if we've got a lot of cheap horses, less expensive horses. If you've got a horse that costs 30 grand and you can run it in a band C restricted maiden rather than against the £500,000 Dabawi of Charlie Applby's, why wouldn't you? And obviously you're then dictated to by where the race programme holds those races. We're very happy to take horses everywhere. We relatively quickly won at every flat course in the country. I can't remember if it was so Wetherby, Pontefract, and the 2 Newmarkets were the last ones for us to do. I think it was one of the Newmarkets was the last for us to do, but we ticked that box a good few years ago. And yeah, just like training winners, and I don't mind where they are.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're not scared to go north, like literally them top 5 are all.
Yeah, if you take, like you say, if you take the all-weather tracks out, we've got very good records at Hamilton, Musselburgh. I remember when I first started training and we'd send horses up to Musselburgh and people didn't know who I was, and because I've got a Scottish sounding name. They were on the TV, racing TV, saying that Musselburgh must be a place close to my heart.
Yeah.
Thinking I was
Is it?
from Edinburgh. It's not what I'm driving though. But yeah, look, we go everywhere. And look, and some of those tracks, you know, I love going. I think Redca's a lovely place to run a horse, a lovely place to introduce a horse. You've got a straight mile, lovely flat track for all of the trips up to a mile. Same as Ayr, lovely place to introduce a horse on the straight track there especially. You know, it's no coincidence that we always tend to take our best 2-year-old colt up to that maiden at Ayr, because it's just a lovely place to introduce them. Chestnut with the white face there is Circle of Magic. Okay, Luce? Okay, Regan? Okay, Will? Okay, mate? Okay, Alice? Okay? Okay, Lee? Okay, Laura? Okay, Raf? Okay, Alex? Happy, Han? Okay, Araminta? Okay, Remy? Okay, Ferry? Okay, Han?
So we've just seen Circle of Magic there, yeah?
Yeah.
It's an expensive purchase for Wathnan.
Yeah, Circle of Magic, he's a lovely horse. He came from the Arcana Breeze Ups. He's been very, very straightforward since coming into us. And yeah, look, we're going to give him he's going to run at Newbury on Thursday, over 6.5 furlongs. And, you know, I hope that he's the sort of horse that could go to the Chesham, being Chesham qualified. But he'll obviously tell us on Thursday whether that's a reality or not. But I'm sure he's going to be a very nice horse going forwards either way.
Dagger Striker, one for Victorious Racing, same connection as Bradsill, obviously has some nice entries back end of the year.
Yeah, Dagger Strike, he's a lovely horse by Starman. He was an expensive yearling purchase, sort of 200,000 or so, at Goffs UK. He's not forward, which I know Starman's had plenty of winners, but he was a big horse himself and didn't come to hand until later on, and he'd be very much in that mould, Dagger Strike. He's got a lot of quality and we like him a lot, and he'll be one for later on this year and very much a 3-year-old type.
Excellent one to keep in the notebook. Dapper Charm, second in a trio of maiden events, most Brighton and then Windsor, up to 6 furlongs. That was probably her best showing so far.
Yeah, no, he's a very straightforward colt. He's been unfortunate really. I think he sort of bumped each time. Ran very well to be second 3 times. He goes to Carlisle, all being well, on the Monday of Ascot week, which is a maiden that we won before. Hopefully get the week off to a good start. Yeah,
excellent. Lovely start going up to Carlisle as well. Duskara, Brodie was talking to us this morning, entered it tomorrow at Catterick.
Yeah, Duskara, she's a lovely filly. Twilight Sun filly, came from Goffs UK Breeze Ups. I thought she ran a really nice race on debut at Yarmouth and what was a strong fillies maiden. She was second to an expensive Breeze Up purchase, Havana Grey of KHK Racings. I'm sure she will come on for it. She was green that day, and I think she's the sort of filly that will deserve to run in the Queen Mary if she can back up that effort tomorrow at Catterick. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Elusive Code, another expensive purchase, 280,000 for Wathnan again, yet to run.
Yeah, Exclusive Code, he's a lovely horse. He's a Blue Point out of a Lorman mare, and he's very much sort of in that sort of mould. He's a big horse, he's still quite raw. He did a lovely breeze in France. He's in cantering away. I see him as a horse for later on in the year and for next year. But he's the sort of horse that could make his debut sort of July, August time. And he's, yeah, a lot to look forward to with him.
Is there anywhere you look for in particular when you're a nice one like that for to debut? You have a particular
sort of,
track?
Yeah,
or?
you'd obviously want to go to a nicer, uncomplicated track. Obviously, Glorious Goodwood means a lot to the owners, Wathnan Racing, so there are a couple of nice maidens there at Goodwood, so you know whether he would maybe go there on his first start or run beforehand, we'll see. Yeah.
Excellent. Another one, they've got fortification.
Are these ours, Steph?
These yours, yeah?
Yeah, this is Tad in.
Yeah. Cool.
He's a proper horse, this.
Yeah. Love the name as well.
Proper horse.
We'll touch on him if you want. Obviously the name will mean a lot to you being a cycling fan, that he's named after one of the best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got a fair few cycling surnames in the yard, but Tote, he was always a standout yearling for us as a physical and everything that he was doing. So he's got a good name. The commentators all call him Tadedge, but they'll get it right eventually.
Yeah. His surname's hard enough if you chose.
Yeah, exactly.
Pogacar.
I think that there's already been a horse called Pogacar, or it certainly wasn't available anyway. But no, it's a good name, and he's a horse we think a lot of. As you can see by the fact that we ran him at Ascot and York on his first 2 starts in very strong maidens. Normally we'd be pootling off to Chepstow or whatever to get the job done. So I was delighted that he won up at York. It's a race that we won a couple of times before, including with Brad Sell. And look, he deserves to go to the Coventry, and I think he'll, well, I haven't even seen, but I'm sure he will outrun his odds because he's a very nice horse.
And do you think he's got better with every run? Because he's been solid with every run, but probably
He
got
has,
more mature
yeah,
with every run.
yeah, exactly. He's maturing, and he's still not the finished article, and I think he'll continue to improve. He was green on debut and stuck on the wing, and then he was even greener on his second run at York, again on the wing. It was just weird ground that day. I'll probably get in trouble for saying it, but they overwatered. They overwatered after it was quick on the first day, and it was just horrible loose ground on top of firm ground underneath, and all of my runners that day just hated it. So it was nice to see him take a step forward the day after, but it was good to have an excuse for, I thought he'd win the second day at York, and he wasn't beat far. He ran a very good race, but it was good to see him step forward the third day.
Yeah, the third one as well, he was really properly went for it to the right to the line, didn't he? Really?
Yeah, exactly. He was challenged.
A bit of a battle.
Yeah, he was challenged by also Ed Walkers that I know Ed thinks a lot of, and on the sectionals and the splits, I think he was despite being in the firing line the whole way, I think we did the quickest final furlong, which I thought was very impressive. Yeah. Considering he was in front the whole way and then had to battle. He's a very nice horse, and whatever happens at Ascot, I'm sure he'll have a big day in him somewhere.
Yeah, excellent stuff. We'll just go back a bit to Fortification. I was just going to mention another one of Wathnan's.
He was a breeze up purchase. I actually trained the dam. She was one of the first breeze up fillies we ever bought. Shamuki, yeah. Tom Biggs and I bought her for 11 grand at the Ascot breeze up sale. So it was nice to come full circle to get a sort of nice progeny of her in the yard. He ran well at Bath on debut, was third. Ran very well again at Ripon, was second. He's not going to go to Ascot. Hopefully he can pick up a maiden and then build up from there. But he's a nice, very speedy colt.
Mission Classified was next on the list. Third on debut at Goodwood last month. Holds plenty of nice entries coming up, and was in today at Brighton if he runs.
Yeah, he runs at Brighton today. Yeah, Mission Classified. He's a nice, solid, speedy colt. I was very pleased with his first run at Goodwood actually, and he showed more speed than we thought. We'd waited for the 6 furlong races, and then he jumped and travelled and sort of shaped like 5 furlongs was well worth a try. So Holly was keen to drop him in trip. So we're going to Brighton 5 today, and we'll see. But he's a nice, solid, proper 2-year-old type, and I'm sure he'll be winning races. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Mystical Vale, 130k buy from Goffs in August. Again, he's in some nice races, Redcar 2-year-old trophy and stuff, entries for.
Yeah, Mystic Vale, she's a nice filly. She's a half to no half measures of Richard Hughes's, who obviously improved hand over fist last year really, and ended up a group filly. So she's not a typical sort of 2-year-old, sort of early season 2-year-old showcasing. So we've taken our time with her, but she'll be out in the second part of this year, and she's a nice filly with a lot of quality, and hopefully she can end up like her sister. Yeah.
Excellent. Private Project, same owners as St Lawrence, obviously won at Royal Ascot, second on debut at Lingfield last month. I put Mago up in trip, I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, she's a nice filly. I was very pleased with her debut. She jumped and did everything right, and was just beaten by a filly that had 3 runs already, but she battled on nicely to be second. Yeah, look, well, obviously the mile races, I'm sure she will get further. The mile races don't appear till August, but she'll run again later this month over 7, and I'm sure she'll be winning. Yeah.
Excellent. Shatir, that might be one that goes to Royal Ascot maybe.
Yeah, Shatir, he's a horse that we've always thought a lot of. Havana Grey purchase of Sheikh Ahmed. He ran at Chepstow on debut, and just things didn't really go right for him. Bit green over the undulations, ended up in the middle of the track, and then he won nicely at Lingfield. I thought he was very impressive that day. Last week, and stamped his ticket for Ascot. He goes to the Coventry as well, and yeah, he's a very nice horse going forward. He's got plenty of scope for next year. But no, we're really looking forward to running him at Ascot. Yeah.
Lovely. Shine on Me for Watson, £160,000 purchase, third on debut at Lingfield last month.
Yeah, she's a very quick filly, Havana Grey filly. She breezed like a bullet at Doncaster. She's been very straightforward in her work and shown plenty of boot at home. She ran at Lingfield and stood in the stalls. She was just very, very green, got left loads of lengths and made up plenty of ground. You know, she was the best filly in the race and would have won if she'd have jumped. Yeah. So we're going to go to the Queen Mary with her, and I'm sure she'll outrun her odds.
Then Underwriter is my last on the 2-year-old list.
Yeah.
Looks definitely ahead into Royal Ascot.
Yeah, he's a belting colt. He's a proper physical. Did a good breeze at Doncaster, and he just hasn't put a foot wrong since he's been here. We took him up to Ayr for the maiden that we won the last 2 years, previous 2 years, with Army Ethos and Electrolyte, who both went on to be second in the Coventry. I thought he was very impressive that day, and I think, I hope he'd have a huge chance in the Coventry. Yeah.
Excellent. You go there with a few in that race then?
Yeah, yeah. we run 3 there. Yeah. Underwriter, Chartier and Tote. So yeah, really looking forward to the Tuesday of Ascot. Yeah, obviously you'd like to split them up, but they're all very talented 6 furlong colts, so we'll, all with different owners and all deserve to go there. Yeah.
How do you feel going into Ascot? I remember we came about this time last year and you really felt the pressure because of the treble the year before.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel slightly less pressure in that regard, at least? That
you always feel the pressure going in there. Yeah. It's more that you just want to get every horse there in good shape, and you know, sometimes through ability or not winning or not getting a high enough mark or injuries, a few fall by the wayside. So you just want to make sure that the team get there. But I'm very happy with the team we got this year. Yeah, I'll just be grateful when it's all happening.
Glad when it's Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I'll go through the 3-year-olds. I've marked a few that have got entries, so we'll start with Asterius, entered in the King Charles III stakes.
Yeah, Asterius, he was obviously a very, very good 2-year-old, multiple group winner, Flying Childers winner. We waited this year to start off in the Westow at York, which is the race that I started Soldier's Call off as a 3-year-old as well, before he went on, was 3rd in the King Charles III. Again, he ran that day at York where the ground was horrible. He just looked to not be able to get a footing on it when he was quickening up. He's in great order, and he ran a great race in the Norfolk last year. The track obviously suits him. Looking forward to running him, yeah.
Excellent, and he was really good last year, so hopefully
yeah,
he can keep progressing. Duty First, again, another talented 2-year-old. How's she coming to being a 3-year-old?
Yeah, look, she's been a revelation this year. Obviously, she'd been dual group place last year, but she took her form to a proper level this year. She was very impressive in the Fred Darling. She didn't handle the track at all, stumbled over the undulations in the Guineas here in Newmarket, so we were delighted to see her back, showing what we know she can do. I thought she ran a huge race in 4th in the Curragh, and looking forward to running her in the Coronation Stakes on Friday. Yeah, she'll hopefully be able to dance every dance in all of those fillies Group 1s this year, and she'll continue to give a good account of herself. Zaire, he's a lovely colt who's done very well physically from 2 to 3. He's a big horse for a sprinter. He ran well enough in group races last year at the end of the year, having won his maiden impressively. I've been pleased enough with his 2 runs this year. He's ran well in 5 furlong handicaps without looking obviously well handicapped, but I think he's the sort of horse that can run a massive race in the Palace of Holyrood House. I think the stiff 5 will suit him, and I think it's the sort of race, we've won it before with Rhythm of Hooves, with a horse he didn't have much up his sleeve, and I think it is the sort of race that most horses, to get up to 90 plus as a 5 furlong 3-year-old, you've pretty much shown your hand, so I think it's easier to win than a Britannia or some of those races against the more staying horses, which can have a few group horses hiding as handicappers. So he'd be my dark horse for Ascot. I think he could run a big race in the Palace of Holyrood.
Excellent.
And Basalt, He's a lovely horse by Pinatubo. He had a good year last year. He was relatively forward for a Pinatubo. You know, he won and was listed placed at 2. We've basically waited for the cocked hat at Goodwood the other day to bring him back. I thought he ran a huge race. The handicapper thought the same. They nudged him up a pound to 94, you know, running off levels against, you know, proper Derby types. He goes for the Golden Gates, the 10 furlong handicap on Saturday, and I hope that he'll be very competitive off 94, yeah.
Excellent. I'll go through some of the older horses that I've got. Kilian, who won over in Germany the other day, entered in the Walkingham.
Yeah, Kilian, he's not going to go to Ascot, but he's been a very good horse for us. Sheikh Hamad sent him to us last year. Took a bit of time just to find his feet. He ran some good races in the summer, and then things clicked over the winter, and he won 3 all-weather handicaps. I was delighted with him the other day. He went to Baden-Baden and won a listed race, stepping up to 6 furlongs. I think that'll be his game. He's very consistent, you know, and should really suit, like he showed the other day, those European stakes races. You know, listed Group 3s on the continent, and that'll be his sort of calendar now, yeah.
And you use all them races quite often, don't you? Is that something you pick out or the team picks out?
Yeah, exactly. I like going abroad and, you know, utilising the European pattern book, and as long as the owners are happy to go, we're always very happy to run there, yeah.
Excellent. St Lawrence won the Walker in 2023. Hasn't won since, but £3 below his last winning mark now.
Yeah, exactly. He's a bit of an enigma. He hasn't won since, but he's ran some huge races since. You know, he was beat 2 necks in a Maurice de Geest, and I thought both his group runs and his handicap runs last year were very solid, in France again, and in the 6 furlong handicap at the Curragh. He ran a very good race at Newcastle 2 starts ago when he didn't get a run. He's the sort of horse that could very well pop up and run a huge race in a Wokingham, yeah.
It's like he's sort of a bit of an under the radar one going back.
Yeah, I'd say so. As a past winner off 97, but like I say with him, you really don't know what's going to turn up on the day with him. But if he got a good trip through the race and was on a going day, I'd hope he could be running a very good race again at a track that suits him.
Excellent. Shartash as well landed the listed spring trophy at Haydock on second start for you last season. He hasn't won since then, but he's entered in the Walkingham as well, and £9 below his last winning mark.
Yeah, he's a very talented horse. Yeah, they put him up to 111 after the spring trophy, and then I thought he ran some big races over 6, you know, in the Golden Jubilee and in some of those French group races as well. You know, and if he reproduces that sort of form off this sort of mark, then you know, I think he could be running a massive race. Again, he just needs everything to fall right and get a good trip through, which you do in these 25 runner handicaps. But I think we go to the Wokingham with 2 very solid, I don't know what price they'll be, you know, I'd sort of think they'd be 2 very solid 25 to 1 shots that can run huge races if everything clicks, yeah.
Lovely, definitely be on them. One I wanted to ask you about, Spartan Arrow ran an absolute cracker in the Epsom Dash the other day.
Yeah.
Almost like he was going to win it at one point, but just denied. Anywhere plans for him now?
Spartan Arrow, he's a belting horse. I love him. I thought he was a very good purchase. Another one from Tom Biggs at the sales, and he's very quick. He reminds me of Brad Searle when you see him every day on the short, and the way he travels through his races. And he's improving. He's improving and being very consistent, really. Again, he ran that day at York where the ground was horrible. He just couldn't get a footing on it. I was pleased to see him run well at Epsom with a bit of dig in the ground, which Sioux Nations do tend to like. He's just very quick, and he wants a very quick 5. It's a shame there's not a race at Royal Ascot for him, but he'll go to, obviously the Dash was great, and he can go to your Goodwoods and your Yorks. And we've got a bit of time now. Probably the next big handicap for him is at Chorus Goodwood, so we'll have a crack at some listed races in the meantime and see if we can make a mistakes horse. And if everything clicks for him, I could see him running in races like the Abbey at the end of the year. Yeah, I think he's.
Do you like a bit of cut in the ground as well?
Well, he handled it at Epsom the other day, so he's the sort of horse. He's so fast that if he got a good rail draw in a race like the Abbey, you could see him running a big race. Yeah. But we just need to see him take that next step and, you know, hopefully win a stakes race and then go on from there. Yeah.